So, what specific strategies did you use to be able to amplify your own voice and your own presence, and you know also the other women who you said that you were probably 2 out of 10 women in the room? What sort of things did you have to, sort of draw from to be able to get your point across?
I think there's lots to do with it, a lot of body language as well. Everything from where you sat around the table,
Mm,
trying to sit in the middle of the table so you were part of the conversation rather than tucked up the end somewhere as an afterthought. um, how you sat, how much space you take up, rather than leaning back, leaning forward, leaning into a conversation. So I guess I picked up on the cues of others that I could see around the room, and later on in meetings and so forth, where you could see people who really captured the attention of the room simply by the way they used their hand gestures, their arms, their body presence to be able to hold the conversation and bring it back to what they wanted to say. Obviously, the content of what you say is pretty important too. Some preparation and thought around what is the point, what is the contribution that I can make to this discussion, what is the outcome that I want to achieve, and what can I bring to the table? What can I contribute that they may not have thought of? What questions can I ask that no one else might ask, that might actually help to contribute to a better outcome for everyone around the table? So it's not about me, putting myself in the middle of a conversation, but using some of those techniques to get a better outcome as a group or as a team, based on being able to be part of it, and using your body language and style and technique and voice. You have to be able to get that voice out there to be able to make a point in a conversation.
mm. All very valid points you make. One, I'm curious because, as I work with appearance, and I always feel, well, I'm very passionate about appearance, and I feel that as part of the whole equation, appearance is also very important, because if you can't visibly notice a person in a room because they're not wearing, a bright color, or they're not presented well, or, and you mentioned the point also, where you sit at the table is very important. Making
Mm,
sure you get a position at the table which is in prominent view of all of the people who you need to make a good impression with. So,
mm.
what was your, how did you see it from your perspective in terms of how you prepared yourself visibly for those meetings, aside from use of correct body language, voice, inflections, all of those things, which obviously you've been very well trained in?
Mm. A couple of things that I always tend to use. It's that balance between dressing for comfort and dressing for, I suppose, impact. So things like coats and blazers, nicely fitted suits and so forth. That, let's face it, do have a bit of shoulder padding in there to give us a bit of shape and
Absolutely.
a
Yes.
bit of status. This was growing up in the 80s, as you know, big shoulder pads were all the rage.
I was there. I was there.
That's right. That was a really big for women in those times.
Mm,
The big shoulder padded suits were a really important part of that, and it's obviously not quite so these days, but certainly a nice classic style that isn't going to be distracting. Yeah, things that aren't too fiddly, too fussy, too frilly, I find personally can get in the way sometimes.
so
But I
distracting.
also find that a comfortable but a comfortable heel with a bit of height for elevation.
Mm,
I also, particularly if you're standing, and whether it's seated at a boardroom table or having to stand, just lifts you up a bit,
mm,
physically lifts you up,
mm,
and can help both with your breathing and the way you then project yourself. So that it's actually that, I think, what you wear and the way you wear it plays an important part in that whole package of being able to deliver what it is you want to say. So a cross between comfort and style. I also find too much jewelry can be very distracting.
Mhm.
So not over blowing the jewelry, but I really like to have a watch or a bracelet. I don't know whether it was watching too many episodes of Wonder Woman with the bracelets, but sometimes I feel having a watch or a quite a thick bracelet makes me feel like I've got a bit of an armor on, without being distracting and banging tables and that sort of thing. So I probably am more of a minimalist in the way that I approach what I might wear, but it needs to add and be consistent with what you're presenting rather than at odds with it.
Well, it's all about being in alignment with the message you want
Correct.
to convey and communicate. Are you dressing to marry in with that, or are you coming in from, as making a big fashion statement? In which case, people can look at you and think you're actually not on target. You're a
Yes.
little bit
Yeah.
left of center with what we're hearing. So everything has to, from my perspective anyway, everything needs to be marrying in together. So how you present, um, what the message is that you're trying to convey, how you conduct yourself. So it was really interesting the point you made also about, wearing a bit of a heel makes you, it corrects your posture, and it makes you actually use your diaphragm and be able to get your voice across more. And I know when I put on a jacket, I feel a lot more empowered than when I don't have a jacket on. And
Absolutely.
sometimes also, a lot of women say putting on a heel, even a stiletto heel, actually makes them feel, you know, 10 feet taller and have a
Yes.
lot more courage and
Yep.
confidence going
Yep.
into meetings as well. So I guess that's one of the things that we as women, without it coming across as being sexist or anything, I mean, we have these things at our disposal to be able to use. So, why not use it if you're comfortable wearing those sorts of things?
And as you say, it's often about how it makes us feel as
Mm,
opposed to how others may perceive us.
mm,
If it makes you feel more confident and empowered, then you're going to be able to have the tools at your disposal to be able to make your point or contribute or take hold of a conversation. So I
mm.
think it's not about trying to create a false impression. It's helping to bolster yourself and your self confidence with the tools that you need.
Yes, which then allows you to be able to deliver the message vocally and verbally, and to get the desired effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing like, sometimes when you're putting on that jacket, and you might be the same, Julie, when you put on that jacket, you feel like I'm ready.
Yeah,
I've got my armor on.
that's right. Look, a lot of women do talk about their professional wardrobe as their suit of armor,
Yes.
but it's whether that suit of armor actually reflects your personality
Yes,
and
that's
who you're
right.
all about. Because anyone can go out and just buy, a suit off the rack and put it on and say, I'm ready to go. But if it's not in the style and fit and color and everything else that is, really resonates with you as an individual, then you're still not projecting authentically.
I
So
agree. Absolutely.
there's a lot of psychology in style, and that people really, don't understand, which is
Yes,
a shame.
yes.
It is a fabulous tool.